Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Willie Miles. I am the president of Dr. Willie Miles Children's Foundation. And again, we want to welcome you all back again to another week of Let's Talk About It. We're always very excited to bring topics of interest to the community, and we're hoping that we're making some impact with you. And if we're not, hey, you can't blame me for that. We're bringing the information. The Children's Foundation is located in Atlanta, Georgia, is a not-for-profit, and our goal really is to make children our priority. That's our goal. So every topic that we have each week will address the needs of children. And of course, you can't talk about children without discussing the children's parents. So for the last 2 weeks, we were talking about critical race theory, and it's kind of interesting. Folks want us to talk about that forever. They're very, very interested in it, and we carried on for 2 weeks. Again, our goal is to get a variety of topics. Hi, Jackie, how are you?
I'm well. How are you, Dr. Miles?
I'm glad you're on. I was kind of worried for a second that you would not.
I'm here.
I was
I
kind of,
got an internet booster. We're going to see how that works.
oh, don't brag. Don't start bragging now.
I just said,
Let's see how the night goes.
let's see how it goes.
Hey, listen, I've already introduced myself. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Good evening, everyone. I am Jacqueline Hampton Clemens, educator, principal, and CEO of Valley of the Giants.
Okay. And Jackie is broadcasting live out of I would say Florida, but Western Florida. I was about to say but out of Western Florida.
Absolutely.
But Jackie, how are things in Florida at this point where you are? Like weather-wise and
I tell you, Dr. Miles, weather-wise, we're back and forth. Sometimes it's cool in the morning, hot in the afternoons. Right now it's overcast and rainy, but we're counting it all joy. It's not snow.
all right, but great. In Atlanta, we're still having cool weather, and rain comes in at night, more cool weather comes in. But guess what? I cannot complain. I'm just happy to be alive to experience it.
Exactly.
Because things could be a little different. Oftentimes, Jackie, we want to talk about the things that are going wrong in our life, right? Versus the things that are going well in our lives. But I was sharing, Jackie, that for the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about critical race theory. And to be quite frank with you, Jackie, am I right? We could talk about that forever. Jackie, are you there? Okay. Her booster's not working too much because she is, okay, she's off. We're going to try and see what happens. But we could talk about critical race theory for a long time. And of course, we talked about what critical race theory is. And we talked about why it's important that this be taught. And we also talked about why there are reasons that people don't want the truth to be told. And we all know that truth is truth, and you can I see you were boasting, but let's keep going while you're on. Let's not stop
I
it.
heard you. I did hear you. You couldn't hear me.
All right, let's keep
Go
going.
ahead.
Your system in Florida is uh, uh, trying to get connected to the internet.
Don't know what to say, but I'm here for
Right,
now.
but I was talking about the importance of critical race theory and why we talked about it. But again, I want to kind of like move on past that. And when I say move on, I don't mean forget about it, because we could talk about that 365 days a week, 52 weeks out of the year. We could talk about it and still not cover the impact that it's making and
Absolutely.
that it would make in American history. And
Absolutely.
it is in Black American history. But Jackie, tonight our topic is trying to understand our children. And the flyer that went out, had like smaller children, but we're talking about really from birth up to age 18, trying to understand them.
And Dr. Miles, certainly a conversation worth having because, you and I are both educators and I'm obviously still in the field practicing, and understanding them is difficult. And I can't wait to hear what our audience is going to say, what challenges they're facing. We know that there are gaps within every generation, but I do feel that, this is a little different.
Well, Jackie, you know that this topic is not a new topic, right? And I think every year but every day we deal with like how to deal with our children. But I thought that you would probably report by saying it's not what we do with our children, it's what we do with the parents.
Always. And Dr. Miles, you know we're going to get there because you cannot talk about children without talking about how they became who they are.
Right.
And that is a direct connection to parents and, yes, peers and environment, but the role that parents play is unquestionable.
You know, it's this whole thing of not understanding children, it's kind of frightening to me because as a parent, you know, and the child's in my house 365 days a year, 24/7. I ought to be able to understand some trends, some habits. Are you with me?
Dr. Miles, is it understand or learn or, pay attention? So yes, absolutely should understand. But I think we have to admit that comes from an investment of time, resources. So it doesn't just happen.
And again, I'm gonna give some of our followers shout outs. I see Al Miller on again. Al, thanks for watching us every week on Facebook Live. And Jabrenton, it's like my little son down. He was in South Florida, but he's all everywhere now. I don't know where maybe in Nebraska somewhere now. But Jabrenton, thanks for signing on with us. And Jackie, our faithful ones. Can you see the names on our Instagram?
I cannot actually.
All right. Well, I know Miss Queen is on. Miss Queen is always on. And I want to thank her. I'm not taking you for granted. I'm sure there are many others that are on also.
I think the earlies are on.
I see
Miles early.
B is on from that's
B.
from Mississippi. And so
Right.
we're going to keep it rolling. We're going to keep it rolling. I think we're still telling people that we're on, and we're not going to wait on them either. We're going to keep it rolling. But
Well, I do hope that all who are on will start to chime in right away. As always, we wonder if you have the same questions and concerns as we do, especially on this topic of today's children. And I don't understand them. I mean, that is a very literal statement, at least for me and many of my peers. We're struggling to understand their realities.
Jack, I'm not trying to digress us or anyway, but we kind of think about our show that comes on every week. It's been coming on for the last 2 years, every Tuesday night. And you would think by now we'd have people just crawling to get in,
right?
Facebook and on and on Instagram,
right?
The case, but think about this though: our topic are always about making children our priority.
So we know there are lots of children in the world. Where are their parents? Right? But that was the point we're making, Dr. Miles. I don't think that all parents believe that an investment of effort and time is important to raising children.
And Jackie, that investment of time doesn't start when they're 15 years old. It starts from
I can assure you, you're too late at that point.
It's sort of the thing I'm going through right now with some of the clients I have. Everybody's now worried about their kids failing school in the last quarter of the game.
Exactly. That is such a great scenario. Exactly. In the last quarter of the game. And the same happens with raising them. So by the time you're at 15, keep in mind, we generally raise children, let's say between 0 and 20. We'll even say 21, but we know at 18, they're very often out of the house. So if you're talking 15, I think you're definitely in the last quarter of the game if that's when you start parenting.
Like at 15, you're in the last 20 seconds of the game.
Right. I totally agree. But again, we can't get people to understand, or at least it's not widely promoted, that this rearing starts at birth. And certainly with our 1-year-olds and our 2-year-olds and our 3-year-olds, because that's where the foundation is set.
You know what's interesting, Jackie? Then the parent asks the question, "Can you tell me why I went wrong?" I said, "I sure can."
It sure can.
What happened? I said, I can tell you what may have happened. And is that you may not have been engaged.
And again, early, our very first statistics on this, the research from Brown University, says that the cognitive performance of infants from 2020 to 21, all right, to scores recorded in 2011 and 2019, overall, they saw a significant drop in I want parents to pay attention to this one. Verbal and nonverbal skills in babies in recent years since the onset of the pandemic. But now we, honestly, we're seeing it a little bit sooner. And this is as simple as, are you talking to your children when they're little? Are you engaging? They learn to speak from looking at you and hearing you speak. And Dr. Miles, we've talked about this. There's a record number of children in schools now in K-12 who need speech pathologists. As you said, can we say why? A large number of cases are because children were not spoken to why. Now, I'm not saying 100%. We know there are some developmental issues, right, and some neurological issues. But a large percent, parents will tell you, oh, no one talked to them until they were, 4 or 5. No one talked to them until literally. So again, parental engagement. And I know that's why you were expecting that from me earlier.
Well, yeah, the thing about it is that, you always say a whole lot, and you go fast right through it. And so I have to go back a little bit. Now, what Jackie just quoted was during the pandemic, and these are the changes they're seeing in children. And I want to stop there for a second. In a few minutes, we're going to talk about this pandemic thing. I also want to talk about Black children had the deficits, many of the deficits, even before the pandemic. The same thing you just said. But what's happening to kids during the pandemic, it makes a little sense, but parents should not allow it to happen. For instance, kids were kept in from regular world. They can only look out the window, and we're not looking out the window, they're looking at TV and playing games. And so, Jackie, of course, their sensories are going to be off, isn't it? Their sensories are going to be off. And, cognition, which is the
social skills, communication skills, all of it. Yes, of course.
It's going to be off. But the problem, Jackie, is that now that we're clearing up from the pandemic, but things are opening up a little bit. Parents are still allowing their kids to have pandemic behavior.
Absolutely. And and I want to spell that out for parents. Sleeping in on electronic devices far too much and not engaged in real academic learning. Just not happening.
Jackie, in the last 3 months in my practice, what I have seen, Jackie, is more diagnosis. Can you believe this? Of teenagers, and particularly boys, having social anxiety.
I can believe it. I've been hearing the same. I've been seeing the same. And it's kind of, as you said, Dr. Mouse, based on where they are, what would we expect? If you're isolated in a house for 2 years, keep in mind, as a teenager, you already had social anxiety, okay? You were already worried, but you were in an environment where you were out, you're going to school every day, and you were dealing. And in fact, you were having an opportunity to practice. Take away 2 years, even 1 year of isolation from getting dressed, walking into a classroom, saying hello. And of course, you're going to get extreme anxiety going back.
Well, Jackie, this social anxiety is a little bit different. It's where the child actually gets sick.
But we know, Dr. Mouse, anxiety does manifest itself physically.
Yeah. They throw up. They become weak. And so the issue is that our children are facing this when they are in a world where they have to know how to do what? Meet, greet people, and have relationships. Right. So I want to ask
but Dr. Miles, so,
yes.
Even when you just said they have to know how to do what, I'm not sure people realize that they do have to know how to do that. Yeah. I mean, you and I take that for granted. But honestly, I think that's a bit of a stretch. I'm not sure. Again, and I'm going to back up what you're saying with this research. So we're talking about neurodevelopment, which basically just refers to the brain's development of neurological pathways, which are responsible for all performance and functions. So this includes intellect, memory, social skills, attention, and more. Okay? Family relationships is one of the changes. Research, family relationships. Now, okay, Dr. Miles, you and I, you say, okay, parents are working. If you're home with your kids, what's the problem?
Yeah, it is just, Jackie, and I don't think people really realize this. It's at a alarming a level of the diagnosis that we're doing. And it's at an alarming level where children don't have the proper communication skills. They don't have the proper socialization skills. And the other thing is that it damages their self-esteem.
Yes, and it is a direct relation, direct relationship to their relationship with their parents, and they're interacting. Parents spend less time with children
Jackie,
since this pandemic.
Jackie, figure this out. 3-year-old talking, parents say, "Shut up, you're talking too much." Well, you need to let them talk.
But then they got to go to school and get speech therapy.
Okay. You got to let kids talk, and you need to talk to them. Versus, you know what's so amazing to me? And this is amazing. How parents, Jackie, can talk to their friend on the phone till the cows come home.
For hours.
And you can hear them tell the child, "Yeah, the room on the phone." I said, "Well, why don't you take a few minutes just to talk to them?"
Well, and Dr. Miles, listen, we know we're talking to the choir, but I think the question is, why is this stuff apparently so complicated? Why is it not obvious?
Well,
are we really that far gone that we don't pay, even a small amount of attention to not just our youth, but to their development? How did we get there?
They are paying attention, I think, to the wrong development. And the wrong development is that my baby intelligent, because my baby knows everything on the phone. He can download stuff. He can look at pictures. He
use every app on the planet. And look, taught me how to use it. You're right.
Okay, well, that's great, but that ain't the only thing you should be
Well, guess what? Dr. Miles, is also one of the things identified as a problem. Developing technology.
Yeah.
Overuse of technology. Okay. And again, I'm in the field practicing. So I don't think parents I think parents are in denial about what their children are being exposed to on these phones.
But Jackie, also, it's the mobility of this stuff.
It is the mobility.
Now, isn't it kind of amazing? Think about this, Jackie. Have you seen parents, they have the iPhone, iPad, whatever, in the house, and they have the audacity to say, "Well, we finna go for a ride. Bring all that with you."
Dr. Miles, yes, technology is raising our kids.
So, Jackie,
technology is raising kids. Technology's it's a cheap babysitter, Dr. Miles. What's it cost?
Well, listen,
$89 for a tablet.
In the car, we can't even have 15 minutes of drive time talking.
We can't look outside. We can't talk geography. We can't talk nature. We can't talk.
Go to the restaurant. Go to the restaurant. Bring your iPad in with you.
Dr. Miles, listen, my family has had to stop me from walking up to complete strangers with 2-year-olds with iPhones and tablets, just sitting there while the parents are talking and the little child is just consumed by overactivity, lights and bells and whistles.
Think about
At 2, you're developing a brain, people.
Exactly.
You're setting a pattern for a brain, and then we have to figure out why everybody's ADHD. Duh.
Jackie,
I mean, your brain was set on Disney.
What about this? What about this? We out, and of course, I'm using all kind of broken vernacular. We at the restaurant. Family members and the children. The family members, the grown folk talking.
And the children on technology.
So the children are invisible to those people.
Completely.
And understand this. You may not know that, but the child knows that he's invisible or she's invisible. Because they tell you, can I get a biscuit? Shut up. Get back on the iPad. Play with your game. I'm just saying, parents, we gotta stop this insanity.
We do. And likewise, and what happens then is that children go to school literally acting out because they know that their parents will be called. And they know that their parents are going to speak to them as a result of it. So it's negative attention. But as we know, for a child seeking attention, any attention will do. And we see a lot of this, Dr. Miles, particularly in young African-American males.
Our topic is today's children. I don't understand them. And it's probably because you don't understand yourself and you don't take the time to know who they are. To know who they are.
And I just want to challenge, everyone on the phone. I mean, on the broadcast today. So clearly, a lot of A lot of our
phone. See, you do that stuff too. See, you might own the phone. See,
well, I mean, I'm on the phone. But I'm saying, I want to challenge because we know that the choir is on the phone, right? We know that a
yes,
lot of these are the people who come every week, share the same sentiments as us. But I'm asking that we reach out to others. It could be our siblings with children. It could be our coworkers with children, and just ask a simple question. How well do you know your child? When's the last time you spent 10 minutes alone with your child without technology? How much technology does your child use a day? Just raise some questions, because Dr. Miles, this is a pandemic. It is going to outlast the COVID pandemic. We will be seeing the results of this for the next 40 years.
you know what's so amazing about this is that when you talk about parental involvement and just investing a few, maybe an hour, they would say, guess what? The reason I don't tune into y'all because y'all too boring. But we're talking about your children. You know, it's not sensational enough because I can't relate to it because it don't make me happy. Raising
Because Diane didn't slap Susan. And
because
we ain't trying to figure out what their personal issues are, right?
and because it's not gossiping. Now, if I had unto Jackie, let me tell you about what Miss Sue did. Our numbers be blowing up. And
Sad, but I do believe so, Dr. Miles.
I'm
I
saying,
do believe so.
like, if people want to get over on us, just make it educational.
Right.
And advance them, and they won't come. They won't come. But make it sensational and rowdy
Can't get them off.
and gossipy. Guess what? I can spend 3 hours on it. I tell all my friends about it.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't hating because I don't care. But if nobody watches these shows, we're doing, Jackie, what we've been at.
Yeah. This is so not about
We're putting the
those
effort.
who aren't watching. This is about those who are. This is about really the fact that, and I don't know about you guys, there's nowhere else, certainly that I've seen, and of course I haven't seen everything, where we're having conversations about putting our children first, where we're having conversations about what are the things affecting our children and what we're seeing in society. Okay? Statistic here. 5.8 million children have anxiety. Repeat, 5.8 million. Anxiety can also come from not having relationships where you get your sense of security.
Right.
There are many forms of anxiety, but that is one, especially in young children.
Jackie,
Go ahead.
I want to give you this piece right here. That was pre-pandemic.
Mm.
That was 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going.
And Dr. Mass, don't you think it's odd, though, that if more people are home, if the kids are home and the adults are home, I mean, isn't it ironic that the relationships got worse?
Jack, there's a new report out that says more children ended up in the child welfare system during the pandemic.
I did hear about that, and we talked about that. What that is saying, Dr. Miles, again, we are a broken record. People are not prepared to parent. There were jokes early on about the parents who said, okay, teachers, you deserve everything you can get because I can't spend one day with them and you've been spending 5 days a week with them. You understand? So we looked at that as a joke, but that was also a reality. Many people were not prepared to spend that amount of time with their own children.
Check it. What's so amazing? Pre-pandemic, many of them were not spending the time anyway.
Anyways, and that's the point. If you weren't spending afternoons with them, right?
Yes.
They're at school 8 hours a day. You couldn't invest 2 hours in the afternoon without technology. And now you had them at home 24 hours. It really has, again, created another pandemic.
You know what I say, though, Jackie, for me, just let me be me for a second. All right.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I just don't understand for the life of me. How can you not spend some time with someone you love? How can you not love the kids that were conceived out of you?
Okay, now that's another workshop, Dr. Miles. That's another broadcast.
Their development. And you created it. I just don't understand how anything else could be a priority other than something I created. We give our cars more attention than we give our
more attention, more time, more money.
We spend more time putting on makeup and eyelashes and nose rings than we spend with our children. We spend more time doing everything else.
Hair. You know,
And then
people
we
will invest 6 to 20 hours getting their hair braided.
and then we ask the question, Jackie. I know I've been the best parent. I don't know what happened.
Well, look, I know my kid had on some new sneakers and a cute little outfit.
You know, I have to just be, you know, we agreed on this show that we would not attack people. We agreed to do that. We said, because we're educating folk. But Jackie, that makes me angry.
It does, Dr. Miles. And more than anything, I think we're just perplexed. We really are. I mean, you know, the numbers don't lie. We know what children are going through. Anyone can step into any school, ask any educator, ask any professional like yourself, and the work you're doing. And the numbers are not, you know, fictional. They're not lies. They are real. And in fact, they're understated because everyone doesn't get help. Everyone is not identified in school. So we know these numbers and these situations are real, but we struggle to understand why. Do we have that many people having children that they don't want? Do people truly not understand the responsibilities of parenting?
Let me just, I have to ask our audience permission, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I'm in a different mode now.
I can tell.
I just get very upset with people who play a hand in making their children dysfunctional. It just angers me that you can't take the time out to give them the things they need as a parent. Now, I don't get this crap about, I don't know how to be a parent. You knew how to lay down and get him. So when you made a decision to lay down and get him, you should have changed your lifestyle. That everything else.
Freeze on that, please. Freeze.
Their development.
You got to go back to that, Dr. Miles.
It just angers me when you don't make your children's life more important than yours.
I have to emphasize what you just said. You this is one time when you ran over it. When you conceived, you should have changed your life. And Dr. Miles, let's face it, many do not. They have not. They continue the same lifestyle, the same behaviors. The children are forced to fit into it because the reality is that when you change your lifestyle and put children first.
But you know what happens, Jackie? Let one of them get killed. Then it was my baby. I loved him. You don't even know him because you spent no time with him.
All too often true.
You don't even know him. Now, I'm not saying, you know, I'm not minimizing the death of children. I'm giving an analogy that he's more loved dead. You can finish it up.
Then he was alive. Unfortunately, that's a reality that we see because we see that parents are often not spending any time, let alone quality time with their children. This is day in and day out.
Look what Miss Queen said on Instagram. She said, yes, people will dress the kids versus investing in a tutor for their education.
Absolutely.
Like,
well, I mean, first of all, Dr. Miles, very few people can admit their kids need tutors. I mean, because, you know, they're all born smart and brilliant.
No, this is what parents say. Well, I was slow when I was little, so he ain't wrong with him. And I said, look at you.
Okay, Dr. Miles, you go.
Oh, he was born. Yo, I had the same problem.
And you want to say, and you're really trying to repeat it?
I was 8. Look at me now. I'm saying, baby, that's what I'm talking about.
We're in the wrong field, Dr. Miles.
For these people who think their little children cute and do cute things when they're young, little cuss words and popping it and twerking.
See it all the time. See it all the time.
They're adding to the child's dysfunction.
I saw something today, Dr. Miles, from a first grader. And it was something of an adult nature. It was a drawing. And it shocked the teacher and myself. All we could do was just shake our heads and throw up our hands and say, where does a first grader get this? And this was a little girl.
Learn behaviors. They'll learn.
Where does a first grader get these concepts? They were very sexual in nature. And honestly, we just don't know. But again, when you're growing up with technology and your friends are growing up with technology, and this is something parents just have to wake up. Jackie, no matter what you think your kids are seeing on technology, them and their friends, they and their friends are looking at things you have no idea about.
Check this
And,
out, Jeff.
mm-hmm.
The parents ask the same question. We go to the parents and say, oh, where do you get that from? The parent look at you and say, where did you get it from? And so parent blames the school. School says they didn't get it from here because we're trying to keep them from doing it.
Dr. Miles, a lot of these kids, I spoke to a parent recently who said her son goes to bed every night at 9. Mm-hmm. The boy is literally sleep like a rock every day. The reality is that maybe you think he's going to bed, but maybe after you go to bed, he's awake and up and playing games and doing Lord knows what. I've said forever, at least the last decade, do not let your children go to sleep with their phones in their rooms.
Well, no, let me give you one. Now you go figure this one out. Parent says, I take all his games out of his room. I put them in my room. I go to sleep. He comes in my room and get it. I said, you must be some real hard sleeping.
And some real easy punishment.
But
that would happen one time.
That's a violation of boundaries. You
one time.
Giving you permission, and then you stole something out of my room. But then you want to wonder why he's stealing
something I already specifically told you not to engage with. Yeah. No. Let me give you one worse. No, then you want to know why the teachers can't control them.
No, not why they can control them.
Because teachers are apparently magicians.
Y'all don't holler at my children now. Y'all don't tell my kid what to do. Don't y'all do nothing. And you don't tell my child that he gonna flunk, because he ain't gonna flunk. You know.
You know, Dr. Miles, what you're saying is just not only so true, it's what educators deal with every day, everything that you just said. You know, again, had a conversation in the last month about, I heard you were yelling. I said, are you referring to the volume of my voice? Yes. I said, I'm not sure about the volume, but I can tell you I was extremely firm with my words and my tone. Now, mind you, we were talking about a middle schooler that's about 6 feet tall. And the mama wanted to know if I yelled at him.
You know, I just tell parents, Jackie, I would tell parents, if you believe half what he tells me go in the school, I'll believe half what he tells me go on in your household.
Hey, man, I got to use that one. Yep.
The key is, you know, the educators are in partnership. But at the end of the day, them kids ain't got to go home with me. At the end of the day. At the end of the day, I only see them 40 hours a week. 40 hours.
And not all of that.
When you have the rest of the hours in the week to spend with them.
And a lifetime.
At the
year before and the year after.
At the end of the day, I'm not accountable for him. I don't have to go to court for him. I don't have to go and bury him. I don't have to do any of that. But
and maybe the next workshop is, when did parenting get so off track?
Well, I got to.
When did we forget the responsibilities of parenting?
Let me give you a little bit of this, and you're touching on some stuff, Jackie. And it started with 2 generations ago telling, and it was misinterpreted, that I don't want my children to suffer the way I did. I don't want my children to have it hard the way I had it. So we make everything easy. Everything easy.
I'd like to know what world they're going to live in after that.
Without having the kid to be responsible and earn some of that easiness.
It's very true.
You know, it's just, it's you know, and Jackie, today parents, you're talking about telling a story. They think you're talking about lying. I'm talking about telling the story of how you grew up.
Yep.
When you told a story, no, I don't lie. No, baby, I'm talking about the history. I'm talking about history. To tell them, you know, your mother and your mother's mother. And this is cross-cultural.
Which, Dr. Miles, goes back to middle schoolers who don't know their parents' full names.
Middle schoolers who don't know their full name.
Well, that's true.
And it's sad. Jackie, you know, and I know our audience, I need y'all to chime in. Al, thank you so much. You're writing a lot of comments. He said, you're welcome. He said, the show is very informative. And guess what? I have a feeling that Al don't even need this right here.
Probably not.
It's right here. But they're getting so they can share with somebody else. Miss Queen don't need to say. Miss Queen is an excellent
already aware.
Parent. And there are others that are on, foster parents, who are excellent. But Shaquita ain't on here. And she needs to be. And Marcus.
And I mean it. I'm asking our audience to get these people on, not because we need a bigger audience. We're great with you guys. Honestly, we're great with the 2 of us. But the reality is that we're hoping to help. We're hoping to help one child every week. We're hoping that somebody's, concept is like, oh man, never thought of that. Oh, didn't really realize I needed to engage. I shared similar comments with a parent in one of my programs. And the parent said that the child was very unhappy at school and crying out for help and saying, Mommy, when are you going to talk to them? And I said, well, have you talked to them? She says, no, should I? I said, your child is asking you for help. I mean, what else can the child do? They can't do it. Listen to your child. When they tell you they're in trauma, that listen.
So you know something? I just thank God daily for me having good parents. I mean, there is nothing that can replace a parent who loves you and puts you first. And I ain't talking about God. I'm talking about who puts you first and who sacrifices for you. There's nothing like it. Can you imagine being raised in a house and you don't know whether food's gonna be there and you the time it ain't? Can you imagine coming home and the lights off? Can you imagine, Jackie? Can you imagine coming home, Jackie, and your mom in the bedroom with Leroy, and she know I'm in the house and you hear all kind of stuff, and you grow up with all that kind of stuff.
And want to know why it shows up at school.
Can you imagine that?
I can. Well, what's missing, Dr. Miles, is a very close friend of mine always refers to that CS degree, common sense. Parents of old did not need academic degrees to raise their children. It was called common sense. And common sense says a child needs a routine. Common sense says you don't let technology raise your children. Common sense says they need to sleep, eat, and that you need to engage with them. Common sense says you, as a parent, need to be the guide, the leader in their life, not JoJo, who sits next to him in math class.
Check this out. And this is so amazing. I have parents who are in therapy with me seeking not only advice, but direction and understanding for things that happened to them when they were young. However, they're creating the same situation that they're in therapy for with their children.
Right. And Dr. Miles, I know you and other therapists have said the same, those that, we've worked with before. You will repeat it if you do not treat it. You will repeat it subconsciously. We've seen that play out countless times. You will repeat it. You're almost manifesting it.
I wish we could get this information on like on the Instagram, on those pages where the movies are, and everybody be flipping through them, just flick through them, and they be saying, looking at all this stuff, and everybody their little vignettes. Because I just think if persons tuned in, something would click.
Well, right, but to get them to tune in, Dr. Miles, we need shock effect. We need a header that says you're jacked up parent, and they're gonna be like, what? You know what I'm saying, and we talked about it earlier. You need shock effect to get them to open it.
No, so we're gonna do a live stream.
We're gonna do when I say you jacked up and so's your child.
No, it's gonna be called trifling parents.
No, you criticize them, they gonna run. They gonna run. They gonna run.
Trifling parents who, I'm gonna give a good title. I'm gonna do another one. I'm gonna say Missing Kojo in the Hood. I'm gonna do another one that says like, do you know your baby's name?
Dr. Miles, you're not gonna get them by insulting. You got to get shock effect. Okay, we need some shock titles to make them want to open up. Because when you say, "Do you know?"
Okay, let's use our audience. What kind of titles should we use?
What kind of headers do we need to get the right people?
To get the right. Give us some titles. I'm waiting.
You jacked up, and your baby is too. They're gonna be all over us like.
What kind of titles should we use that will attract the population that we're trying to get in here? Give me some. And
Dr. Miles, let's go back. We have to do this in between because people coming in between this will completely understand. Please understand, we are having some humor and comedy to this, but our real objective is to impact children in a positive way, to have caregivers and parents stop and think about their impact or lack thereof on any and every child in their atmosphere. We need parents, teachers, counselors. We need eyes on kids. We need you to pay attention. And we need to help our children get through childhood.
Miss Queen, you gave us one, but it ain't no good. It's for parents who are looking to improve.
They don't know they need to improve. Everybody be like, "Oop, not me."
Give me one. All right, Al, give me one. Anybody who's on, give us some titles.
Give us some titles. We need shock effect. What's gonna make them click and open?
Miss Queen
play that video.
She was making a comment, but she said Shaquita should be on. Maybe I should use that. I'm gonna use the title that says Shaquita should be on.
No, look, that's all her laughing at your comment that Shaquita should be on. Yep.
Right. Hey,
and that's a very good point, Miss Queen. Everybody can improve. You can be a great parent, but need to improve.
Yes.
And I want to throw this out as well. Even when you go to the table with the intention of great parenting, because this generation in particular, every generation for sure, but technology in this generation has you parenting a child that no one has ever parented before. Let's talk about that. You're parenting a new,
yes,
someone exposed to things that previous children were not. And that's why everyone can improve. That's why learning and engagement is ongoing. You know, it's not, I bought the right diapers because I did the research, you know, and I do product reviews on everything that I buy for my child, including their shoes. It's, what is your engagement? Do you know that person? Do you know their pain?
Okay. Al gave us one. Our children are precious. I like that. But I have one for you. We'll put one. Police gonna be at your house tonight.
Yeah. If you don't watch this, the police is going to be at your house tonight.
All right. Let's get back on task. Let's get back on task. But the whole point.
Let's get back to the facts.
But the whole point is to get people on who should be on, and also to make you aware of what's happening, what's happening in our world, and what's happening with our children, and what's happening with our parents. But Jackie, before you go further, I want to make sure our audience understands this, that we're not looking for great parents, and Ms. Queen said it. We're looking for parents who want to improve.
Period. And that should be all parents.
Because what is great parent? What's great to me, man?
No such thing.
One kid said his parent was great. He's now 14 years old. His parent was great because she was hooked on drugs and she allowed him to do what he wants to do.
Great man.
That was
from a 14-year-old's perspective. Yeah.
So the point is that, you know, somehow, Jackie, I'm not going to stress over this because I'm going to do what I think God has told us to do. He said, make it available to them. Those who need it will bite. Those who don't won't. But
no, let me put a caveat. Those who know they need it will bite.
Yeah.
A lot of them need it. And
yeah.
and again, this is what we're seeing as practitioners. And I think it's interesting that I practice in a school setting. You practice outside of that school setting. And, you know, it's easy to confirm what we're seeing in children or what the data is telling us.
You know, let's stop for a second. You know, when I say stop, I'm going to just pinpoint. You know, let's think about the psychology behind this. Jackie, how do you not love something that is you?
I'd like somebody to answer that.
How do you say you love something that you don't give you any attention? But you got
something, Dr. Miles, you did answer that a little while ago.
No, I'm getting old, so tell me what I said.
If they don't love themselves, they don't love the other thing that is them. If they're still dealing with their own issues, they can't treat the issues in their children. And let's face it, a lot of them do fall in that category. They don't have self-love. So it's not a stretch that they don't love that which they created.
Right. You know, one thing, as we're researching this for tonight's program, we found out, now we knew it, but, you know, we like when somebody else says it, that our children, Jackie, ready for this newer generation, they are paying more attention to what their peers say, and they look for approval and also, Jackie, comforting from their peers, not their parents and family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Nash needs emotional maturity, increases their relationships with their peers, changes that become more vulnerable emotionally, and intimacy with their peers. Right. In other words, when a parent is absent, they look for parenting in their peers. That is leadership, conversation, guidance, advice. They're getting this from their peers, right?
Yeah, that's the only place they can get it from. It's just like becoming part of the gang. They
Mm-hmm.
looking for acceptance from gang members.
Mm-hmm.
And says, I don't have no idea how he became associated. Jackie, guess what? I was talking to a sixth grader yesterday, and I was just in, I should never be in shock. But Jackie, the thing they tell me, I got to get back into schools. I have to. I've got to get back into school. Jackie, I'm hearing the sixth graders doing some grown folk stuff. The sixth graders calling each other bitch. The sixth graders are calling each other hoes. The sixth graders have, they call them fake gangs. Can y'all believe that? Fake gangs, where these children are mimicking gang members, right? And they try to recruit other fifth graders and sixth graders. And the kids who are the most vulnerable are the ones they're attacking. And
Because they need the attention.
they attack the kids in the special classes.
They need the attention. They want the attention. And in special classes, they don't really understand the difference. But there are many children who aren't in the special classes who simply want the attention. This is my friend. This person loves me. This person talks to me all the time. This person protects and looks after me. Everything a parent should be doing. So trust that in the absence of parenting, they will find a parent, and they are finding them in wayward peers. But Dr. Miles, I'm sitting here shaking my head, and you're talking about fifth grade. Fifth grade is equivalent to 12th grade these days because we're seeing it in first and second graders.
This is just, I mean, it is, yeah, again, I try not to have the shock factor because I'm not really shocked. I think what I am,
I'm shocked.
I'm just so not overwhelmed. I don't know what the word is.
I think the word is disappointed.
How can we let our children get this way?
The word is disappointed.
Out of all the years we've gone through, and not just Black children, but white children also, and Latino children, out of all the years we've gone through struggle, how we let it get this off the chain?
And of all the information that has been out there, again, so much of this is not new, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to point to technology and its influence on the family. The infusion, not influence, the infusion of technology in family life. Now, Dr. Miles, and I have a friend whose children are 10 years older than mine. So a couple of decades ago, she said, no, they're downstairs and they text me if they want something. They text me. They don't talk to me. Like, children will stand next to their parents and text them. Social skills, relationship building. Who put the technology into the hands of the children? Where did they get it?
Let's be clear on this. We're not against technology. What we're against is an obsession with it.
And an improper use of it.
Yeah.
Parents use technology to babysit. And yes, we know that before the cell phones, they were using TVs. TVs didn't have quite the reach of the internet on your cell phone. You know, you could at least control a channel, and you could bet the channel more often than not didn't break out in pornography, for instance.
Well,
but on these cell phones, what did you say, Dr. Miles?
I'm glad you mentioned that, Jackie, about the pornography, because we had this on several shows back. But Jackie, that is becoming a real big issue.
It is. We're seeing it in schools. We have children that we think are addicted to pornography.
And how old are they?
In this case, it's a fifth grader.
Okay. Well, Jackie, guess we have some second graders. And check this out. Parents report to me, that, who I'm treating, that the child, second grader, is a chronic masturbator because he watches porn. I'm saying, well, wait, stop for a second now. He's 2 years, he's second grader. He masturbates. I got to figure out what that's about first, where that's coming from self-satisfaction. And then he watches porn, and he doesn't really understand the mechanics of the body, so he's being traumatized. Anyway.
So no, let's keep unpeeling that. Okay, let's keep pulling back those layers.
Okay.
When
He,
does a second grader have access and or time? How are they unsupervised long enough to have that exposure?
I can tell you how. Bobo, go to your room and don't come out till I tell you to. So Bobo and they're having fun.
Look, in your room with a phone, the internet, computers, parents, really, come on, think about what you're saying and doing. Seriously.
Check. We have a few more minutes, Jackie. Let's talk about this for a second. You know, we talked about what they doing. What can they do to change this stuff?
Oh, I got, may I? May I? May I?
The floor is yours.
Get rid of phones, okay? Take away, think about it. And Dr. Miles, I remember when my children were first grade, second grade, okay? Admittedly, my husband and I were older parents. There's a first grader, I think if I recall, it was an iPhone 4. I know it was an iPhone. My kids had Fireflies, the kind that didn't have a keyboard, where you pre-program the number and they could only call the numbers you put in there, which was us and grandpa and an uncle too.
And police.
Yeah, I think it would automatically call the police because you didn't have to put that number in there. They're called Fireflies. And so, but no, undoubtedly, the children with the phones with internet access, we're sharing things with our kids. Shocking things. So this was 20 years ago. 20 years ago. Technology has advanced, tremendously since then, but we're still putting these devices in the hands of children. And get this one. Oh, I got a good one for you, Dr. Miles. Are you ready? Are you ready for why? Are you ready? In case something happens. No. So if the school blow up, right, your child need a phone because the school's not going to. In the meantime, your child is being overexposed every day until the school blows up, and brain being destroyed.
Jackie, I kind of want to take back something I said. I said, so children call the police. If you're black, they may end up dead. So I'm not sure that that's your first line of defense. I'm not sure it's the first line of defense. But what I would say, folk, is that as a intervention, parents, we have got to now be responsible to our
technology
children.
Users, yes.
And react to our children and ask our children who are their friends and meet your children's parents and make sure their values match your values. Make sure your child doesn't go anywhere that you don't know where they are. And teach your children to tell the truth. If you say you're going to the store, you need to be at that store.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to say you're going to the store, you better be at that store. And if you're online, I think you're online in your class, and I discovered the teacher says you've been out of that classroom 5 days, everything is taken away. And then you'll be doing your classes in front of me.
Right. And Ms. Queen has offered a very interesting perspective. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't just happen in foster parenting situations. It happens in biological parenting situations. And that is the challenges of, quote unquote, taking the phone away. Okay, I want to back up a little bit and say, and people will know this. If a child was not used to it, they're not going to miss it.
Right.
So if we did not start this at 1 and 2, like entertaining, like giving a child a phone while they're at the restaurant and letting them watch Disney pop all over the place, which is clearly, developing their ADHD, okay, skills. If you don't give it to them at an early age, they're not going to miss it at a later age. So the ones who are complaining about having it taken away is because it's something they've become addicted to. Now, it took years, and I always use this analogy. When I was growing up, smoking cigarettes, and my parents' generation, my parents were very young, smoking cigarettes was the coolest thing since dirt. It was in every movie. 20 years later, we realized they're killing y'all. 50 years, actually. Okay? Same with the microwaves. We started buying these microwaves. We stand in front of them. We microwaving everything we eat. 20, 50 years later, cancers everywhere.
Not the microwaves.
The microwave.
I gotta keep the microwave now. I guess people.
You, Dr. Miles, you cook more than anybody I know, so don't even try it. Okay, you cook on the stove more than anybody I know. Let's not wait till our grandchildren are here before we realize what the cell phones and technology is doing when it is overused and under monitored. We're not saying that anyone is going to live in a world without technology, but we are saying that that technology is dangerous to the development of your child, their well-being, and their brain, their cognitive and neurological development. I said it.
Let's do a priority list for parents, and including ourselves. Priority 1, you got to sustain yourself. You got to keep yourself alive. Priority 2, I ain't talking about y'all put God where y'all want to put him, but he's number 1 in my life. But priority 2, my children. Priority 3, house. The things I need. 3 and 4 and 5. But you shift it the way you want to, but I tell you, your children should be in the top 3. Children should be in the top 3.
God first, family second, career third.
All right, Jay, we almost out of
Mary Kay Cosmetics,
We're almost out of time. We have like two more minutes, so we can't talk too long now. Don't get into a lengthy discussion. We got 2 more minutes.
I'm going to say the same thing I said, and I want everybody to think about it, and especially those of you who know people having babies, they're pregnant, please start talking to them, okay? I would like to see legislation passed that, people under 18 should not have access to a phone for more than 2 hours a day.
Oh, Lord. Lord.
I know. I'm shocked. I'm dead. I'm in the ground. But it's not going to be that case after we trace all of these illnesses back to it.
Well,
why wait 50 years when we see it's happening now?
Well, people don't care because we'll be dead. Some will be dead in 50 more years. I know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, their grandchildren won't be.
But I think your point is very valid. It's not just for ourselves, it's for generations. It's not just for ourselves. It's for generations. I guess I had an idea, y'all, for next week's program. We already have the title. I'm not sure what it is, but our producers already have it. We ought to make just like the church does.
What?
We ought to Family and Friends Day next Tuesday.
I love it.
Why don't you all invite your family and friends to
Family and Friends Day
next Tuesday?
And get your family's feedback on the show. I like that, Dr. Miles.
Yeah. Family and Friends Day.
Family and Friends Day.
I promise you, I will not take up an offering, and you don't have to bring no chicken. I know no food. Just show up. Just show up. No food.
And they're welcome to talk about how crazy we are and like who are those people?
Nothing. You ain't gotta bring nothing, and you ain't got. And if you bring the kids on, don't have the technology other than the phone y'all looking at, or on Facebook. All right. Hey, Jack, it's always great having you on with us. You're so wonderful. You give so much information, and I love our audience.
I love our audience too, and this is fun. It's informative, but it's just so important. So important.
And we have listeners and viewers everywhere. We have them out of Mississippi. We have them, of course, out of Georgia and Florida. We have them in Chicago. We have them throughout the country. So, folk, we're very happy that you all choose every Tuesday to be with us so that Jackie and I can join you and let's talk about it. So, Jackie, I will see you next week on Family and Friends Day.
Family and Friends Day. I'm going to bring some family and friends.
And so Al, tell your friends about it. Thank you for your comments on our Facebook family. It's really growing. And of course, our Instagram family is very, very stable, very consistent. So we love y'all.
For the hearts, guys.
And hey, call somebody and tell them to go and tell their kids they love them.
Thank you, Miss Queen. And share the videos, guys. Encourage them to go to the video.
Oh, to our YouTube channel. Yes, I keep forgetting about that. We have a YouTube channel, but we have over I think we have about 100 or more videos starting filming last week. Last year, 2 years ago, what I'm talking about. So go on there. You can see all of our videos from a year and a half ago.
Thank you, Elise. We appreciate it.
They will see me gain weight, lose weight, look old, look young. And that's what you do the same. Hey, love y'all. Good night. See ya.
Good night, everyone.